Reuben Abati. Thank you so much for joining me here on Live Chat with Josey. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sorry about all the technical glitches. At last, now we can have a conversation.
Yeah, it's not a problem. I mean, it's everywhere. I understand, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, so before I ask you how Nigeria is, it's a culture here on Live Chat with Josey to introduce yourself. Who is the real Reuben Abati?
When you say who is the real Reuben Abati, you assume Reuben Abati.
I'll need to also. I see comments here. People are saying bad up and call back. I think I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I only know one Reuben Abati, and that's the Reuben Abati that is talking to you. I started out first as an academic. My original ambition was to end up in academia, but in I think it was late 1991. There was this prolonged ASU strike. And in the course of that ASU strike, I got busy doing journalism. I've been writing for the Nigerian press since 1985. And then I went to teach after my PhD at the University of Ibadan. Then Ogun State University, which later became Olabisi Onabanjo University. So I was teaching African drama, Western drama, sociology of literature, dramatic forms, and all of that. And then the university shut down. So my natural thing was to just fall back on journalism, which I've been doing. I've been writing for The Sketch, for Nigerian Tribune, for Daily Times. I was also a contributing editor to Hint magazine, Channel magazine. So I did a lot of romance journalism. And I also wrote typically for The Guardian on its opinion pages. So during that period of the closure of the universities, so I just kept busy with journalism, with writings in the media. And then by the time the universities reopened, the media people had already said, well, don't bother to go back to academia. Why don't you just stay in journalism? And that was how my full-time journey in journalism began. And since then, I've been editor, I've been this, I've been that, and I've been involved in print journalism, romance journalism, mainstream journalism, broadcast, which is the current thing that I have added onto it now. I co-host a program on Arise TV, which is available on DSTV channel 416 and Sky channel 519. And I do that every morning, Monday to Friday. I also still write columns. I maintain a column Tuesday with Reuben Abati, back page of This Day. Of course, I've been writing columns forever. So that's what I do basically. And when I'm not writing, I'm reading. When I'm not reading, I'm thinking. And of course, I like to attend parties. Some of my friends complain that I go about a lot. But in the season of COVID-19, the party invitations have moved from event centers to online. The last one attended was Dele Momodu's 60th birthday. And although it was, we had great fun. We didn't miss anything. The only thing we missed at that party was that there were no drinks. So I had to provide my own drink in my own house. And Dele Momodu is here to send food. To fully complement it. But we all had great fun. I'm happy for him. And then, of course, I'm the head of my father's family. You know, I have my own small unit that I have added to my father's extended unit. And we thank God for everything. We're okay. We're okay. You know, journalism has been kind to me. I intend to do a lot more, because I still believe that I have not done enough. I have not made use of my potential. And there are people who keep pushing me, like Professor Stanley Ngwa, like my friend Pastor Kayode Olabi, you know, who say, no, you can do more. You are too lazy. You are too lazy. But we'll see. We'll see.
And where were you born? Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Abeokuta, Ogun State.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and then you became the former president, Goodluck Jonathan's spokesman, and you're also in the media and publicity. How did that happen, and how was that for you?
Well, I was, I'd only met President Jonathan once when he was, I think, deputy governor. Then I think I also met him when he was governor of Bayelsa State, but that was brief. Because at that time he used to come to Lagos, and I'd been introduced to him by, one of his friends. But it wasn't as if we had any close relationship. I knew him. I had met him before. So when the invitation came and he said he would like me to be the spokesperson, the first thing that I told him is that, look, I'm chairman editorial board of The Guardian. I'm not looking for a job, and I would like you to talk to Mr. Alex Ibru. Mr. Alex Ibru of blessed memory. Mr. Ibru is the founder and the chairman of the Guardian Press Limited, and chairman also of the Omama Trust and the Trinity Trust, owners of the Guardian and a chain of other businesses. And Mr. Ibru had been very, supportive of my career. When he made me chairman of the editorial board, I think I was either 32 or 33. And he just called me and he said, look, I'm going to promote you. Everybody says you are bright, but they say you are young and that you play around town a lot. But, I'm interested in professionalism and intellect. And everybody says you are very good. So I'm going to test you. First, I will make you deputy chairman editorial board. Now, if you impress me, I will promote you. And I think he added another position to it. And he kept his word. And he stood by me. So I couldn't just walk off, walk away from the Guardian just like that. So I told President Jonathan that if you talk to Mr. Ibru, if he releases me, fine. If he says no, then you will have to negotiate with him. So he then went to Mr. Ibru and he discussed with Mr. Ibru. Of course, nobody wants, somebody has groomed to leave. But they discussed and he told Mr. Ibru that, look, this is a national assignment and I would like him to come and serve Nigeria. At the end of the day, they discussed between the two of them. And Mr. Ibru says, well, President Jonathan has told me that he needs you for this assignment and the Guardian cannot be more important than Nigeria. So I like what you are doing here, but if Nigeria wants to give you an assignment, Nigeria is more important, and nobody can say no to the president of Nigeria. So he released me. And he said, I've already told the president that he must not mess you up. Because when people go to take government appointment, they tend to mess them up at the end of the day. And you can be sure, if you have any problem there, I will stand by you. Okay. That was what happened. And I went on to Abuja. And then we were there. And then in 2015, what happened. We lost the election. And the logical thing for me was to return to the media. Because, I've written in the past that people who take public offices should have a second address. They should have a career. Being in government should not be a profession. People should belong somewhere. They should have a second address. So, of course, I came back to the media and I took back my writing columns, my columns in The Guardian, my column on Friday, my column on Sunday. And then, of course, we continued with that. But at the moment, I write for This Day on Tuesday, and I present, I anchor the morning show, co-anchor the morning show, Monday to Friday, and I anchor the...
So I had asked you a question that when you were serving under President Goodluck Jonathan, was there any moment of regret for you?
No, and I responded and I said there was no moment of regret, because when I look back now, it was a great opportunity, an opportunity to learn a lot about my country, an opportunity also for self-discovery, an opportunity also for reflection, an opportunity also to make a contribution and to know Nigeria better. And I was lucky in one regard. I had a boss, President Jonathan, who gave me opportunities. And I would like to say that, look, when people work for a president, you are only as useful as the president wants you to be. And it's not just in Nigeria. It's the same if you've read the books written by presidential spokesmen, either from Indonesia or the United States or anywhere else. Access to the principal is very important, particularly if you are one of those persons we refer to as main body. The president has something they call main body, the last set that will be with him at any particular time, and that will include the chief detail, it will include the state chief of protocol, it will include his ADC, AD camp, it will include his chief security officer, then his spokesman, then his physician, then of course the security people, 3 concentric circles of security people. That constitutes the main body. 90% of the time you will find them around the president. Okay, if he wants to say something, the spokesman is there. The doctor, I left out the doctor. So it was a great opportunity to be part of that, setup at a significant moment in Nigerian history. And then I tell people, I say, look, if you have the opportunity to serve in government, don't throw it away, because you will get to learn a lot. It's like going back to school. It's like getting a PhD. I came out of that experience confident that, in fact, I could run Nigeria because of the kind of exposure that I was privileged to have. And maybe that was in part what motivated me to go into politics and to run as a deputy governorship candidate on the platform of the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State in 2019. But of course, after that experience, I returned naturally to the media, which is my main constituency. But as I said earlier, I would like to thank President Jonathan for the opportunity that he gave me. I think it was a great opportunity, great exposure. And if I have any opportunity again to serve Nigeria, I will not hesitate to do so.
But what are the things that you think that President Goodluck Jonathan could have done better when he was still in office? Well, I mean, you're asking me now to assess my boss, and that may be out of form. At least this is just for the love of your nation. There is no man who is perfect. Nobody is perfect. I'm sure even when you left office alongside your principal, there are things that you reflected back and said, this I could have done better, or the president could have done better. And you don't imagine that I would not like to attempt an assessment of my boss. But to answer your question, let's look at it, since this is an intellectual conversation. Mm-hmm. Look, President Jonathan is one of the most humble persons that I have ever met. I think that Nigeria has been so far unfair to him. Because when I look back now, we worked very hard for this country, and he was a very hard-working president. Many people may not know this. He was also a handsome. He was not the kind of president that you could push around. There are aspects of his personality that people do not know. But we thank God that years after he has left office, there are many Nigerians now who are giving him credit for the things that he did, for the many pathways that he opened up. Under President Jonathan, women empowerment was a major achievement. It was under President Jonathan that we embarked on the reform of the judiciary, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act that everybody is talking about. That was the last piece of legislation that President Jonathan signed before he left. Now, President Jonathan, many people, and I'm trying to quote from the public so that you don't think I'm still doing spokesman job. The Amajiri problem that we have in Nigeria today, President Jonathan built over 150 schools in parts of the north because he saw the future and he wanted to address the issue of the Amajiris. And then, of course, you know, the BVN. Dr. Abati, I'll hold you there. I do not want you to start telling me about what he did when he was in office. I want you to tell me what you think he could have done better
schools, railway, etc. Yes, we know about that. But there could be some stuff that you say he could have done better. What are those things? So we learn going forward.
Well,
You are saying that even you can also rule Nigeria someday. So let's talk about those things.
Okay, well, one thing that I observed about President Jonathan is that he didn't like to offend people. And, you know, on many occasions, people will come to him and I will be in the meeting. I mean, I was not required to express any opinion. And they will be lying to him. Blatant lies. I mean, Nigerians, look, to run this country, you really have to be suspicious of people. Because people will come to you as the president of Nigeria, they will be lying to you. And then I will sit down there, I will be so uncomfortable. And the president will be very nice to these people telling him lies. And then later, when those people leave, I will go to him, I will say, but Mr. President, that person was lying to you. You have the facts, you have the details. And he will say, look, don't worry yourself. You are not a politician, you are a writer. In politics, you must always give people hope. Now, that was an aspect of his leadership style that I didn't quite understand. Yes, you can give people hope, but if somebody comes to me and is lying to me, I'm not going to suffer any fool gladly. I will tell you straight ahead that you are a fool. And I will expose your hypocrisy. But President Jonathan was not that kind of person. Look, I recall a particular meeting before the election. All these party leaders from different, sections, they had gathered. We were having a meeting, and I was there. And, you know, everybody was talking. One of those few occasions, I would just say, look, I have to expose these people. So I spoke. Then the president tried to moderate my intervention. Then when he stood up and he went to the smaller office in the new conference center, banquet hall, which he built. So I went and met him there and I said, Mr. President, look, these people are deceiving you. They are lying to you. He told me, do you know what his response was? He said, well, we are going to run an election. Is it you and Okonjo Iweala and Akinwumi Adesina, all you PhD people? Are you the ones going to organize the election for me? I will have to rely on my party. I said, but you can see that they are lying to you. You know, why don't you engage them? He said, no, you don't know about politics. Politics has its own method. So that's one aspect, you know, is humility. But sometimes, you know, I guess he was too humble. Yeah.
From what you're saying, you're blaming his humility, but that means that he was not running the country. He didn't know what was going on, right?
No, he knew what was going on. I told you that he was a hardworking president. He was on top of the situation. But he was the kind of person who will not fight you. You know, who will just, he was tolerant. Or rather, let me say he's a tolerant person. Because in and out of office, he has remained consistent. He has remained humble.
There's a part you said that you asked him and you told him that, say, but these people are lying to you, and you said we are running an election. So was the election more important to him than running the country in the best way?
Well, I mean, I was invited to the meeting that I cited as an example as his aide. I was not there to go and do heavy lifting to dominate discussions. But at some point, I intervened. Okay? But you also can understand the situation. You don't expect the president of Nigeria to be telling the leaders of his party that they were lying to him. Even if he knew it, he will find another way of dealing with it. And he used to tell me that, look, this is not journalism. This is not academia. This is a totally different territory. You must know how you handle people. But I'm making that comment from my own nature. You know, there are people who know me who will say, look, I can be very brash. You know, because if you feed me with lies or bullshit and I see it, I will come after you. I don't have time for, you know, hypocrisy. No, I will not accept it from anybody.
I'm glad we are talking about this because I was in Nigeria during that election when he lost to President Buhari. And some of the things that people were saying is that he is switched off. Like he is allowing people to do what they want. That's how corruption increased in Nigeria. And from what you're saying, so it actually makes sense now that people would come to him or go to him and lie to him. And because he's humble, as you say, then he would allow things to just happen under his nose.
No, no, no. You are trying to interpret what I'm saying. I'm saying that, look, I mean, humility is an asset. And on many occasions, I saw how his humility was an asset for Nigeria. Look, as president, every president in Africa wanted to be his friend. And they were all his friends. Many of them looked up to him.
How does the friendship benefit Nigeria as a whole and the citizens?
Oh, it helped us in many regards in our foreign policy process. We got a lot of support for what Nigeria wanted to do within the international sphere. And then internationally also, I mean, it was a very popular president. We got a lot of support, not from the United States, but from other countries, just because of his personal example. And if you check, foreign policy was one of his major areas of achievement. But, I mean, many of us who work for him, we look back and we say, well, when Oga, as we call him, when he made the statement that when God gives you power, do not use it anyhow. You recall, if you check many of his statements, he said that. And then later he will say, you know, his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. So he was a man who was very cautious, very humble. But some other person, you give some other person power, he will use that power and ride roughshod over everybody. Now, President Jonathan is not that kind of person. And nobody can accuse him of having at any point abused power. But I've also seen him on many occasions when he will put his feet down. And on those occasions, you know, everybody will just back off and they will say, look, for the president to have taken this position, then it means that he's very resolute about it. And he believed in the rule of law. The Attorney General of the Federation and the legal team, you know, these were very important people to him, because before he did anything, he will ask, is it in conformity with the law? So when Nigerians turn around today and they say, we miss President Jonathan, we miss President Jonathan, maybe his humility is something that they miss. Maybe his commitment, you know, to the rule of law is also something that they miss.
One characteristic about President Goodluck Jonathan that I keep hearing from you is humility. And besides that, obviously, he had a team of people, you involved, that were backing him. And from what you're saying, my understanding is he was switched off, like people said. But because there were people like...
No, he was not switched off. I've told you, when I started, I said he was a hands-on president, which means that he paid attention to every detail. Okay. Don't forget that this was a young president. He was a young man, very energetic, and he was awake 24 hours. And I mean, this was a president who worked with till 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you were required to be with him by 8 a.m. Anytime he was coming down from upstairs and he got to that open space and he did not see the main body, as we were called, I defined main body earlier, you know, you'll be disturbed. But of course, you know that we will be there. The main body will be there. Because we know that this president is not going to slip off. He's not going to sleep on the job. And, you know, we did our very best. And I have no doubt that history will be kind when a proper accounting is done to President Jonathan.
Speaking of account,
you make it sound as if humility is a minus in human relations. But I said he was hands-on, he was very hardworking, he was a bridge builder, a great networker, he was focused. But you needed to have him there and not listen to, you know, what people say within the public domain. And many of the people who criticize President Jonathan, we are glad that today they are apologizing to him. They are saying that they are sorry to have criticized him at that time, because they didn't have all the...
There is no way we can ignore what people say in the public domain, because we are in those offices basically because of the people. So there is no way we can say we should not listen to what people say in the public domain. But anyway, speaking of accountability, the present government blames the past government for the present state of Nigeria. Do you agree that President Goodluck Jonathan left Nigeria in a bad shape?
In a what?
In a bad shape. Bad shape.
No, it's absolutely untrue. true. And the quick answer to that is that if you look at the government of the day now, maybe that narrative, they started with that when they first came to power, but that has since changed. Who else is still blaming President Jonathan for anything? Nobody. And that's why I told you that a lot of people have had cause to apologize to him publicly and privately, to say that if they knew what they now know, they would never have criticized him. On social media, you must have seen many of those comments. But the way to look at it is that politics is one thing, the truth is another. And in the goodness of time, the truth will be properly stated. And the people themselves, if they are sentimental at one point, when they gain better knowledge, they will reach a better point of reckoning. What we can say is that Nigeria is a very complex country. There is nobody that will run Nigeria that will not be blamed for one thing or the other. Now, when there is transition, the kind that occurred in 2015, you are likely to have the kind of politics that we have seen. My Mercedes is better than yours. My shoelace is finer than yours. And that's the kind of politics we saw for a while. But even the Buhari administration is not playing that politics at this moment, because they have their own challenges. They have the complexity of Nigeria to deal with. And look, the truth of the matter is that every government will face its own challenges. What Nigerians expect is that whoever is in power should make his own contribution, because at the end of the day, there will be a proper accounting and history will be written, not necessarily by revisionists, but a proper accounting of history. And all of us will get to a meeting point where we will realize that the responsibility of anybody that comes to power is to move Nigeria forward, to make a contribution, to make life better for the people, as stated in Section 14 of the Nigerian Constitution, and not to trade blames. But when people play politics, they say all kinds of things. After all, in the United States, President Donald Trump is blaming President Obama. He's talking about Obama Gates. He has even refused to unveil the portrait of President Barack Obama at the White House, which is something very unusual that no American president has done before. So in the nature of politics, people trade blames, they make all kinds of claims, but the truth is unvarnished. Someday the truth will be unveiled and the people will make their own conclusions. But I can tell you that history is already kind to President Jonathan, and it will even be kinder to him as time passes.
Okay, we need to talk about the past as we are in the present to make a better future. So there is no way I am going to allow you to leave before you answer my question, especially when you were in Asho Rock. I mean, that moment, there were some Chibok girls that were kidnapped. That was when President Jonathan was in the office. Yes,
go ahead. Yes, you want us to talk about the Chibok girls. Now, yes. The issue about the Chibok girls is as follows. Now, many Nigerians said the government did not act expeditiously. Now, and I tell people that that is not true. Look, there were occasions when things happened in Nigeria and we were abroad. And President Jonathan, we abort that trip and we will return to Nigeria immediately. Now, in the case of the Chibok girls, he was briefed by the security chiefs. His approach is first to take briefing from the security chiefs. Second, he was in contact, as the story broke, with the governor of Borno State, I think, right? The governor of the state, yes, Borno State. And he spoke with the governor. He got the necessary intelligence from the governor. And on the basis of this interaction, State House now issued a statement, meetings were called. Now, there is a lot that goes on in government at the back end that people do not know about. No president will act without taking... Hello, can I finish? Hello?
I said there is no way we can know what happens behind the scenes. But President Goodluck Jonathan failed to tackle Boko Haram.
Well, I mean, okay, let me just finish with the Chibok girls, because the narrative that people put out there is that he didn't act on it. That is not true. As a father himself, there is no way he could have ignored the fact that girls had been abducted, and these were girls, young persons, the girl child affected. There were issues also about education. A president who has shown serious commitment to education and to the plight of the girl child and the plight of the Amajori. One major challenge that we faced at that time was that, look, we faced an opposition that was hyperactive, an opposition that was hypertensive. The APC at that time constituted itself into a very aggressive, machinery for public disinformation. Now, some people say that perhaps we dropped the ball in countering them. Maybe not, because we also tried our best, and you cannot have a government that is perpetually, just screaming like the opposition. Now, the APC is in government. They too will have learned their lessons. Maybe they do not face the same kind of challenge that we face. Now, they were busy at the time. They were calling President Jonathan all kinds of names. They were saying he was clueless. They were saying he was this and that. Much of it was disinformation. Much of it was propaganda. The misfortune we had was that a section of the public bought into that narrative. So when people say things...
Dr. You are talking about APC. My question is on Boko Haram. What did President Jonathan try to do to tackle Boko Haram and to get back the Chibok? The APC is another government, which is the present government. They have questions to answer as well. Let's talk about
but the APC did not just drop from the sky. I'm trying to give you a background of some of the narratives that you are bringing up, and the basis for those narratives, and how those narratives, were narratives that emerged out of misinformation and propaganda.
Let me
talk about Boko Haram. Boko Haram had been in place far long before President Jonathan. It was an inherited problem. And everybody knows that, look, when you fight an asymmetrical war, because that is what terrorism is all about, terrorism, insurgency, it doesn't follow the basic rules. Nobody, no president, no leader, not even a general, can predict when the war against terrorism can end. If you can predict that, probably there will be no crisis in Afghanistan, probably there will be no crisis in the Middle East. And since President Jonathan left office, that problem is still there, because it's asymmetrical war. And an asymmetrical war goes on and on because it keeps mutating. You are dealing with people who are ideologues. You are dealing with people who do not have uniform, who do not follow basic rules of warfare, who are not bound by the Warsaw Pact, or if you like, the Warsaw Convention. So that is the nature of terrorism. And I believe, and you may not agree with me, during our time, President Jonathan, the Jonathan administration, succeeded in taking the Boko Haram out of about 16 local governments in the Northeast. Local governments that they are occupied. The commitment of that government was to ensure that no part of Nigerian territory falls into the hands of the enemy, because the Boko Haram clearly is an enemy of Nigeria. Now, wherever that administration ended in terms of its own engagement, the present administration has taken over. But you will also not say that the present administration has been able to defeat Boko Haram, because now and again we have reports that the Boko Haram, continues to make a devastating impact in the northeastern front of Nigeria. But the commitment of every president of Nigeria is to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. President Jonathan did not drop the ball on that account, and President Buhari has also not dropped the ball on that account.
We've spoken about Boko Haram, the Chibok girls, and mass corruption during President Goodluck Jonathan's tenure. There was mass corruption in Nigeria during his tenure. Like you say, he's a humble man. Maybe he just sat there and looked at people do what they want, because I think during his tenure. Those are some of the things when we interviewed people in Nigeria towards the elections were complaining about.
Well, that question is an unfair question. Again, I insist that you are just promoting narratives. Narratives that I said, many people have had cause to even apologize for. Now, when you talk about corruption, there are there are categories of corruption. There is grand corruption, there is petty corruption, there is political corruption, which is even the worst form of corruption. And then there is the one that maybe you are thinking of, financial corruption. But I will push the question back to you. Corruption in Nigeria is, of course, systemic. It is institutional. It is also attitudinal. Now, has corruption ended in Nigeria? And can you say that at any point in Nigeria, there has been any government that has not had to deal with the challenge of corruption? In fact, if you go back all the way to 1960, so it's not that you will say you will label one government as a corrupt government. Corruption is a major challenge for Nigeria, for society, and that every government has had to deal with. And to get into the value judgment position of saying one government is more corrupt than the other is not something that you can prove scientifically or even with statistics.
You told me earlier when we were trying to connect, I think it was the Facebook Live, you told me that you learned a lot that even now you can run Nigeria. But the way you talk and keep referring to other governments, you need to is it not that as a politician, you need to get into the office telling yourself that I will do this, I will tackle this. Doesn't matter what Jonathan did, it doesn't matter what Buhari did, it doesn't matter what Obasanjo did, I am Abati and I'll tackle corruption, I'll tackle Boko Haram, I'll tackle every other issue in Nigeria. But from your responses, you keep saying since the other government did it, then Abati can do it.
No, I've never said that. I mean, you must give me the benefit of the doubt.
I will try.
I'm a man of intellect. You cannot twist my words. I'm very specific and very, sure of the things that I say.
Talk about the President Goodluck Jonathan's tenure. That is why I looked for you to talk to you. So let's not talk about APC or the present government. I want us to talk about...
Have I mentioned APC in the last few minutes? But I've just given you a picture of how the governance system works. Now, if I become president, if I seek to become president of Nigeria, I will engage Nigerians on the basis of my own ideas and what I would like to do. And then it's for Nigerians to make a choice. So we can't jump into that future that may not even happen. Who says that one day I will run for president? It's not certain. But as a public affairs analyst, part of my job is to contextualize things and to do comparative analysis and to give information on the basis of my own exposure as to what I have seen in Nigeria.
So is President Goodluck Jonathan planning to become a president again?
I don't know. I'm not in a position to tell you that.
You talk.
I'm sure he can speak for himself. I don't know.
We'll try to speak to him. Anyway, I just wanted to find out, is the government doing enough to try and curb the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria?
Well, nobody was prepared for COVID-19, whether it's the Nigerian government or the British government or the American government or any government anywhere in the world. COVID-19 has shown itself to be a very capricious disease, and every country, every government is trying to deal with it. But so far, so good. I think that at the federal level, the federal government of Nigeria, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, has been very proactive, has shown leadership, and has tried to mobilize resources, effort, intellect, human resource, to deal with the various challenges that COVID-19 has presented, either on the economic front or the financial front, or even in terms of the management, the human management dimension of COVID-19. What are some of the things that this government has done? Now, very early, President Muhammadu Buhari directed that the airports should be shut down because it was discovered at the initial stage that most cases of COVID-19 were being imported into the country. And then the president also took the step of imposing a lockdown, restriction of movement on Ogun State, Lagos State, and the Federal Capital Territory. That was relaxed on May 4 after due consultation. The government also set up a presidential task force. The presidential task force is led by Boss Mustafa, and that presidential task force has been briefing Nigerians on a daily basis. A lot more can be done in terms of communication, but we see that all the stakeholders in that presidential task force have shown great commitment. We've seen the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Nigeria Diaspora Commission also looking out for distressed Nigerians in diaspora. There may be a number of issues with that, but with the way the repatriation of persons from Dubai or the United Arab Emirates, from Saudi Arabia, from the United Kingdom has been handled so far, I think that the government also deserves commendation in that regard. Government has also been very proactive in introducing both monetary policy measures led by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which has been doing a lot of heavy lifting. You can criticize some aspects, but I think that the Central Bank of Nigeria has also, in terms of the monetary policy measures, been very active and responsive. And also on the fiscal side, we've seen a number of measures introduced by the Nigerian government. So you cannot accuse the Buhari of administration at the federal level of not paying close attention to the tragedy, to the crisis that COVID-19 presents. But while I commend the federal government, I may not say the same for many of the state governments. We have seen at the state level governors playing politics with the COVID-19. For example, today, some of the governors, Yobe, Nasarawa, Borno, Niger, Kano, allowed large gatherings at, at Eid prayer grounds, even after they had been advised by the Sultan of Sokoto, the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs of Nigeria, the Presidential Task Force, and personally by President Buhari himself, that people should take caution so that we don't have explosion, and that people, should worship at home. They should have their prayers at home. But many governors do not listen to the guidelines. There are 2 states that have not presented any case of COVID-19, Cross River and Kogi, and it is on record that perhaps those 2 states have not been cooperating enough with the federal government. So I would like to see more synergy, more collaboration, better communication, and also the state governments are approaching the crisis with greater seriousness than we have seen. But some states have done a lot that is commendable. And in this regard, Lagos, the Federal Capital Territory, where you have a minister, Kaduna State, and also Borno State, where you have a governor who shows a great commitment. And then Delta State, where the governor is a medical doctor. And even when the state did not have up to 5 cases, he had already put infrastructure in place. So there is a governance dimension to the management of COVID-19. And all the leaders in Nigeria need to pay close attention to that governance dimension. There is the economic dimension, and the president has in place an economic sustainability group, an economic advisory council also, looking at post-COVID-19, and a committee of 7 governors led by Governor Okuwa Odeta has also been set up by the National Economic Council. And we would like to see how Nigeria survives post-COVID-19, particularly now that poverty is about 40.01%. Revenue has dwindled by about 31%, and debt to GDP ratio is up. The foreign reserve is down to about $34 billion. So if you look at the various indicators, there will be need for more rigorous thinking on the economic side of it so that we do not have a financial crisis that we cannot manage. More so, as we've been told by the World Bank and also the Minister of Finance, that a recession is imminent. Our greater fear is not even about recession, it's about depression.
So in other words, are you telling me that some Nigerians or some cities, some Nigerians don't believe that COVID-19 exists? Because even if governors are playing politics using this pandemic, then, I mean, as a citizen or as a Nigerian, you must know how dangerous this is. So do you think that people are not taking it serious as well?
Well, I mean, I see a lot of people having this messianic complex. They think that, nothing can happen to them.
Because you eat pepe. Because
And you know, Nigeria is a very religious country. So some people think, oh, you know, nothing can happen to them. So there's a problem on the religious side. And our religious leaders have not helped, particularly these Pentecostal pastors who seem to be more concerned about the churches opening and people coming to church. One famous pastor even argued that government has allowed markets to open. If government can allow markets to open, why won't churches be allowed to open and allow people to come in? So, in other words, the pastor didn't realize that he's saying that these churches are more or less markets where people buy and sell. He didn't realize the fact that when government says markets should open, government is looking at the food supply side of it so that people will be able to feed, even when they are on either partial or total isolation. The third point is that, look, people also do not quite trust government. So when you have this trust problem between the people and government, even when the government is telling them the truth and advising them not to kill themselves, not to commit suicide, the people will not want to listen. So that's part of the problem. 4, the distribution of the palliatives that government talked about wasn't quite well managed at both the federal level and the state level. And that resulted in a lot of disquiet within the community. But generally, I think that a lot more needs to be done in terms of communication. People need to be told that COVID-19 is a pandemic that affects the whole world, and a cure has not been found to it yet. And then, of course, there is the issue of this belief, this supernatural belief, not just in religion now, but in herbal medicine. A lot of people are self-treating, they are self-medicating, and the Presidential Task Force has had to come out to say, look, the people who are even self-medicating most are the educated people, the middle class and the upper middle class, and that people should not self-medicate, and persons who have been treated and who have recovered should also not turn themselves into medical doctors offering prescriptions on a disease that they know nothing about.
Dude, so before I go or let you go, looking at the state of Nigeria, if you were to meet President Buhari, what would you advise him?
Well, you're asking me to give free advice. But in any case, I do that all the time on television.
He's your president. You're doing it for you.
In my column.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I know. This is what I comment on. The president, if I were in his shoes, I'll begin to think now of legacy issues. What are those legacies that he would like to be remembered for? Now, he has done a number of things, but he will need to put a team together, maybe not a team. He will need to work out a strategy, and the people who work for the president should begin. This is 2020. By 2023, he will be leaving office. He needs to put a fence around that legacy, because I think one of the major advantages that his predecessor has is that, look, to some extent, we try to put a fence around the key achievements of President Jonathan, and so people can reference that. I would like to see a more strategic intervention in that regard. Don't forget that President Buhari was a head of state. He's also now civilian president. And so legacy is more important for him than for any other person, who just comes along, who does not have the kind of history and background and engagement with Nigeria that he has. If you look at President Obasanjo before him, who has a similar kind of profile, you will see that President Obasanjo's strategies, good job of defining his legacy for him, both intellectually and also in terms of performance in office. So I will be saying to the president that, look, that's something that he needs to do. 2, there are many unresolved issues in Nigeria. Many of those unresolved issues have been articulated at various fora, including political reform conferences that took place in the past. The latest was the National Political Conference of 2014. The working documents for that conference were also other previous efforts in that direction. We've been told that the Buhari administration does not agree with many of the resolutions or does not agree with the composition of that conference. But can the government look at the issues in that document that came out? If there are issues there that can be addressed to resolve certain challenges in Nigeria, I think that would be a good idea, which is why I think it's something praiseworthy that recently President Buhari took the Ononsanye report. That Ononsanye report, that committee was set up by President Jonathan. He has given a deadline that by October, should be reviewed. Aspects of that report should be implemented. That shows leadership. Because at that level, he's not functioning at a partisan level. He's saying, look, this is something that has been done. It may have been done by a previous government, but we think that there are ideas that committee came up with that are relevant at this time. I think that is good. I would like to see that kind of effort in different directions. And then, of course, I think we can still do a lot more in terms of domestic policy. COVID-19 is the major challenge that everyone faces. With the economic statistics that I gave you earlier, governing Nigeria or any country in the world at all in a time of COVID-19, which we're even told may not disappear till 2021, is a major challenge. So the government will need to focus on that and try to see what can be done to protect livelihoods and households. Government has talked about palliatives, right? But what else can be done? And it's good that President Buhari has set up a number of committees, the Economic Advisory Council, the Economic Sustainability Committee, that the process is driven by ideas. I often criticize the People's Democratic Party each time they criticize what government is doing with COVID-19. And I said, look, this is not about partisan politics. This is about policy. This is about governance. Nobody should politicize what happens. The work has changed, and the way we relate with each other has changed. I can't remember when last I shook anybody's hands. And, and when I go around on a daily basis, everybody has become a masquerade. Who knows that will end? We may possibly become a global of masquerades in motion. So these are, in order not to take too much time, these are some of the priority areas that I think government needs to worry about.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Abati, for coming to the show.
Hello? I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
I hear.
I said thank you so much for creating to join me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've had fun a lot. Although you were attacking President Jonathan.
I was not attacking President Jonathan. I was actually.
I wish you were in Nigeria. I will send you some documents. To read some of the documentation that we did while in office about what that government did. Maybe then you will have a different opinion. Don't follow the disinformation or the tainted narratives.
I was not attacking. I was actually saying that if at all you could have done something you there right now, because I mean people are complaining. It's the same. I'm from Zimbabwe, right? I'm from Zimbabwe, and it's the same thing. We couldn't wait for President Mugabe. Now every Zimbabwean feels like, why did he go?
No, a few minutes on
the
politics of Zimbabwe. But it's okay. That's not the subject for today.